Hey everyone, Cal Mike here from MLive.com, joined by Justin Rogers. We're at Lambeau Field where the Lions, yes, the Lions have won a football game 18-16 against the Green Bay Packers, improbable because of the historical significance of the Lions playing here, Justin, 24 straight losses, but also improbable because of the way this win came about in the last moments with two missed extra points from Matt Prater to make it an 8-point game there in the closing moments. Aaron Rodgers comes right back the other way, scores a touchdown. Creston Butler looks like the hero with breaking up the 2-point conversion. And then they recover an onside kick, and then there's a field goal. But Mason Crosby missed the field goal. The Lions win. They're 2-7. They're 1-0 in the Sheldon White era. What was your big takeaway from this game?
A very meaningful win in a meaningless season. I don't know if there's a better way to put it. I don't know if I've covered a more wild game with this team. It seemed like it wouldn't end. It seemed like they were going to blow it in typical Lions fashion. I tried to get more Lions players. I just kept saying, honestly, what was going through your head as Mason Crosby lined up for a 52-yard field goal? 52 yards is well within his range. And I had to imagine they were thinking what all of us in the press box were thinking. The Lions have blown it again in inconceivable fashion. But Crosby's kick sailed off in the weirdest angle direction. Apparently was not blocked. The streak is over.
Yeah, we both talked after the game. It was fitting in many ways that Creston Butler played such a key role in this win, just because he was, with the promotion of Sheldon White. He has no free agency really to work with. He has no draft to work with, and yet he's charged with somehow conjuring wins and turning this into a winning team, as Martha Ford told him when she made the promotion. And then there's Creston Butler making a huge play on the 2-point conversion. Who knows what would have happened if this game goes to overtime. Butler, a guy Sheldon White signed on Saturday. Sheldon White said after the game that Butler and he had been in contact for a number of days, and that this was, Butler said he was ready. I'm ready. If you need me, I'm ready. And on Saturday, they called him up. They said, "We're ready for you." Stafford said he almost, quote, flippin' missed the team plane, end quote. And then here he was playing hero. It's a pretty fitting day, I think, and it's a cool way, I think, for the Lions to try to move forward and heal a little bit after what was really a disastrous first half of the season.
Yeah, I don't think Butler was really expected to play today. I know he was active, maybe he was going to get in some special teams work, but a lot of injuries. I mean, they mounted fast. Obviously, Rashean Mathis was put on IR before the game started. That cleared up the roster spot for him in the first place. Wilson went down, potentially serious knee injury. He'll have an MRI tomorrow. Nevin Lawson is in concussion protocol. Who knows how long he'll be out. Maybe it'll be a minor one, a couple days. Maybe his season's over. You just never know with the way Rashean Mathis is played out. So for Butler to even get on the field was kind of neat, and then everybody knew where that play was going in this building. Devontae Adams was targeted 21 times in this game. It was clearly Rodgers' favorite. He wanted nothing to do with Darius Slay today, which I think was also kind of a cool story. Rodgers apparently said something to Slay after the game, like, "You're one of the best up-and-coming corners," and of course the last thing Slay needs to hear is praise from a great quarterback that he's not going to sleep tonight. But it was obvious where that ball was going, and Butler gets credit for the play. There was a lot of factors that went into that play, with pass rush, the blitz call from Terrell Austin, the execution by Josh Bynes, but end of the day, Butler made the play, and it was amazing.
Yeah, he's on the team, and he was in that play in the first place because of the injury to Rashean Mathis. I talked to Jim Caldwell after the game, and he just basically said it was the best for all parties involved. And I think when it comes to a head injury like that, something that hadn't healed in 3 weeks, and then the guy ends up on IR, you're just concerned about his long-term health. There's so many concerns now with CTE and concussions and brain injuries and stuff, and Mathis has taken a lot of hits in his career, so you just hope the guy from a long-term health standpoint is okay. But Caldwell said it was the best move for all parties involved, but obviously in terms of football, it's not the best move for the Lions. Mathis was maybe struggling a little bit this year, but he's still the better option over Nevin Lawson, over Creston Butler. And so the Lions do have some depth and talent issues to worry about in the secondary. Back to your point, though, this is a meaningless season, so it's, whether they lose a game because Lawson or Butler's out there or something, I don't think it's a huge deal. But you hope to see that a game like this can galvanize a team. You hope to see that the firings can maybe galvanize a team, as opposed to see it fall into disarray. And you saw some, I think, signs of that in the first half of the season. What I saw in London against Kansas City was an embarrassment, and I think that's why you saw the firings that you did at the top of the organization, with Ford on hand, with her family and friends, and it was embarrassing. And she said basically as much to the fans, she said as much to the players, she said as much to the season ticket holders in her letter, and she has to be very pleased. This must be a very validating win for Mrs. Ford to see the team come back like this and get a historic win after the move she made.
Yeah, I know fans have already moved on to the draft. I understand that. That's the more exciting thing to talk about, but wins do carry over, and learning to win carries over. If you remember the Lions playoff season 2011, I believe they won 4 in a row to close out that year. The example I love using is the Ravens during the Super Bowl year, not the first Super Bowl, or not the most recent Super Bowl, the one before that. They closed out a season winning 6 games when they weren't very good, didn't make the playoffs, but it was clear that team was learning how to win, and they carried that over into the next season. Dominant defense, won the Super Bowl. It does matter closing out the season with wins, builds confidence for the guys that are coming back, however many that may be, we don't know at this point. I did want to make one more point about the game, because all we're going to talk about is Butler for good reason, but Matthew Stafford,
that's where I wanted to go.
Didn't have a great game, great final drive. I loved the poise he showed. I thought big play, big play. That third down play with Calvin Johnson was all him. You know, 2 pass rushers coming in the backfield. Stafford should have been done for. Felt the rush, avoided the rush, kept his eyes downfield, made a great throw. That play right there was like the quintessential offensive moment, showing what Matthew Stafford is capable of doing in leading this team to victory when, you know, he's third place.
And the first half showed he was capable on the other end of the spectrum as well. He's capable of bad play, particularly when he has a sieve at right tackle. That was a major issue and something the Lions will have to address going forward, because Waddle was terrible. Michael Ola was active for the first time since the Lions claimed him last month, and you know, he's active over a healthy Lucas. Then all of a sudden he's in the game over Waddle, and he was terrible, and he was still out there because he was still maybe the best option for the Lions. So you know, Stafford had a lot of challenges in that first half, but I've said this before, you can question a lot of things with Stafford, but you cannot question his poise. He has many fourth quarter game-winning drives in his career, including I believe 5 last year if memory serves, and time and again he was money. I know he's had his issues this year, but you know, the guy can play in the fourth quarter. He's not scared of the big moment, regardless of his inconsistencies. And I'm not sure if he's a part of the future or not. I tend to believe that he is, particularly with Ford's assertion that she wants to win right away. I don't, you know, if you would draft a quarterback, whatever, it's going to be more of a long-term deal. I think Stafford's here, but you know, wins like this, they can cement, or at least bolster his legacy, to become part of his legacy here in Detroit. I know that he doesn't have a playoff win and all these things, but 12 guys before him tried to start at quarterback and beat the Packers here. They couldn't do it. Stafford couldn't do it his first 4 times. And to come out here on a day and in a season like this, with the offense playing the way that it was, and still to gut out that win, that third down pass to Calvin Johnson, that third down pass to Golden Tate, the touchdown to Lance Moore. Those are big plays from Stafford. You have to really like his medal there in crunch time.
So often we see him playing from behind, and coverages are just different when you're playing from behind. You have that sense of urgency, and I think that's where he's always thrived. This was them playing with a lead. Coverage was tighter, more desperate, and he still made the plays. And that's something you haven't seen a lot, because there hasn't been a lot of opportunities. But I think it was another quintessential moment of Stafford's game closing out legacy.
We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the defense, at least for a moment in this game, because that is ultimately why they won this game. I know Stafford had the game winner and Butler and so forth, but the Packers came out, 12-play drive. They're not having too much problems with the Lions defense. Then the Lions clamped down. They forced a field goal. 9 straight drives that ended a punt from the Packers from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. Yeah. 9 straight, not including a knee to end the first half. That's an incredible run. There's a lot of 3-and-outs in that stretch. The Lions made Aaron Rodgers look pedestrian, and they did it with 3 of their defensive backs down, 3 of their top defensive backs down for this game at some point. And so I was just really impressed with what they were able to do with with Rodgers. He had a lot of completions. They moved the ball a little bit, but they prevented the big play. They got stops when they needed to. 3 points into that final stretch in the fourth quarter. You have to be really impressed with what they were able to do.
Yeah, I thought Rodgers at stretch didn't look right. I mean, we're talking about one of the most accurate quarterbacks in NFL history. I think he's 3rd all time. It's just, that's his calling card. He's an accurate, precision passer. And there was a lot of throws he just missed today. He did have open guys, but still, credit to the defense. The pass rush got there when it needed to get there. I thought the secondary and the linebackers played, the defensive backs and the linebackers played excellent in the secondary. Most importantly, didn't give up big plays, very few beyond 20 yards, and they tackled well. That's what Green Bay will do to you. They'll just hit you with completion after completion after completion. That's what you saw in the first drive. And I thought they were giving them too much space on that first drive. And I think they tightened the screws, adjusted the coverage, forced the Packers to beat them more one-on-one, and that's where the problems started. So credit to Terrell Austin, credit to the defensive backs, credit to the linebackers. Yep. Just a great performance overall.
I know the defense has taken a step back this year, and obviously Terrell Austin has taken his share of criticism for what's occurred on that side of the ball. But it's worth pointing out, I think, that in 2 of the 3 games he's faced Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, 7 points allowed in 1 game last year, and then the effort today was 16 points. Those are 2 great games against Aaron Rodgers. There's very few teams that can do that in 2 out of 3 outings. You have to really like the way that he's schemed against Aaron Rodgers. Something to look, going forward into that Thursday night game back at Ford Field against the Packers. Obviously, the goal now is to sustain it. Raiders coming to town at Ford Field next week.
That's an explosive offense,
and they're very good this year. I like what they do a lot. Derek Carr has been impressive as a young quarterback, and I think the comparison between Derek Carr as a young quarterback and Matthew Stafford and their relative futures is kind of an interesting debate that we can get into next week. But for this week, good feeling for the Lions, good vibes. For 24 hours, they can chill, they can feel good about what they've done, and then hopefully flip the page.
Beat the Packers in front of the biggest Lambeau crowd of all time, and I don't know why, but that's kind of cool.
For Dustin Rogers, I'm Kyle Meinke. We're at Lambeau Field where the Lions have in fact won 18-16. Keep it right here at Live.